Indycar, the pinnacle of American open-wheel racing, and the most stable motorsports association in the world. Okay, maybe not that last one. Throughout its long history, Indycar has had its fair share of famous teams. Andretti, Ganassi, Penske, just to name a few. Those teams are famous because of their success, but this team, at least in my mind, is famous for something very different. Now, cursed is a word that gets thrown around a lot in the world of racing, as it seems some drivers and teams are forever destined to lose. While most of these people are unlucky, there's one team that I personally believe is the most cursed of all. This is the story of Sam Schmidt Motorsports. And while this team has taken on many names in its long history, it's important I begin by talking about the man himself, Sam Schmidt. Sam's professional racing career began in 1995, where at the age of 31 he earned Rookie of the Year honors in the USAR Hooters Pro Cup Series, a small stock car series now known as the Cars Tour, which is the starting point for many professional drivers such as Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace, and Matt Kenseth. While most drivers who graduate from cars end up in the Nascar system, Sam Schmidt had other aspirations. Despite his abilities in a stock car, his goal was always the Indy 500, and in 1997, he'd get his first chance in the Indy Racing League. Sam would float around IRL for a couple of years before scoring his first and only career win from pole position at Las Vegas in 1999. Unfortunately, Sam Schmidt would not have a chance to win another race, as his career was cut abruptly short in a practice crash at the Walt Disney World Speedway in preparation for the 2000 season. He was paralyzed from the neck down in the crash and remains quadriplegic to this day. This crash is what I believe is the catalyst to the curse that followed his team for years to come. Upon his release from the hospital, Sam, who was a successful businessman before his racing career, decided to remain present in the sport of IndyCar by starting his own team, Sam Schmidt Motorsports. The team began racing in 2001 with Davey Hamilton behind the wheel. The first season is where the curse begins its terrible reign, as during a race at the Texas Motor Speedway, the car of Jarrett Schrader blows its engine. Unable to avoid Schrader, Hamilton's car collides with Jarrett's machine, and then the wall, and then it's flung into the backstretch catch fencing.
Yeah, he got out of the pits, was pretty far back, and just really has kind of run where he came out. He hasn't been able to pass anybody, hasn't really been...
Oh! And we have a big-time crash on the backstretch. Looks like that it is Davey Hamilton involved, along with Sarah Fisher.
Yeah, Davey Hamilton, the yellow and red car that appeared to have a lot of damage. Sarah Fisher's down to the inside.
You see, here is the crash.
Well, they're taking... Oh! Contact was made between Schrader and...
Hamilton would suffer severe leg injuries in the accident, ending his season and nearly his racing career. It would be a long road to recovery for Davey, and in 2005 he would start his return to IndyCar and eventually make another start in the Indy 500. For 10 years, SSM would rotate through many drivers without injury, but in 2011, tragedy would strike. Towards the end of the 2011 season, Sam Schmidt Motorsports would partner with another IndyCar team, Brian Herta Autosport. They were to field an entry for Dan Wheldon in the season finale at Las Vegas. Wheldon, who had won that year's Indy 500, was selected by IndyCar CEO Randy Bernard to compete in the $5 million Last to First Challenge. A challenge in which Wheldon was tasked with winning a race from last place in order for him and a randomly selected fan to split $5 million. Unfortunately, Wheldon wouldn't win that race.
This race was all that dirty air created by 34 cars. But right now, the position he's in, he actually has a small advantage because everybody else has opened the air up in front of him. And he... Oh, here we go. Trouble, contact, and a huge crash. Up in turn number 2. Oh, multiple cars involved.
On lap 11 of 200, Dan Wheldon was killed in a violent 15-car accident between turns 1 and 2, where his car was flung into the catch fencing and massively damaged. Wheldon was struck in the head by one of the catch fence posts and was later pronounced dead upon arrival to the hospital. The race never restarted, and Wheldon was only 33 years old. In 2013, the team would be renamed to Schmidt-Peterson Motorsports after former Champ Car driver Rick Peterson made a major investment into the team. After this, multiple other drivers would come and go from the squad, notable names being Simon Pagenaud, James Hinchcliffe, and Mikhail Aleshin, the latter of which is the next major accident to occur in this saga.
When I saw that 2 years ago in turn number 2. Ideally, I think you'd like to be low, in particular going into... Oh, we have a huge crash here on the track right now. It looks like Mikhail Aleshin. I'll have to look up who it is. I saw Aleshin earlier was running very close with Charlie Kimball and as well Sebastian Saavedra.
While practicing for the 2014 season finale at Fontana, Aleshin lost control in turn 4 of the speedway and was hit by an oncoming Charlie Kimball. The high speed of the impact sent Aleshin's car into the catch fencing, and Aleshin pirouetted the fence a few times, similar to Hamilton before him, before coming to rest on the apron. Mikhail was rushed to the hospital in serious condition, where he was diagnosed with multiple injuries and obviously ruled out of the race. This may or may not have been a sign for things to come, as we'll see later on. Less than a year later, it would be another Schmidt driver who would suffer a horrific injury during a practice session. This time it was James Hinchcliffe, and the stage was even bigger, Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
This is SportsCenter. Oakville, Ontario's James Hinchcliffe was taken to hospital and underwent emergency surgery on his upper left thigh following a crash during an Indianapolis 500 practice run today. Hinchcliffe had just posted a lap speed of 221 miles per hour when an apparent failure to his front right suspension sent him slamming into the wall on corner 3.
While practicing for the 2015 Indy 500, the Canadian lost control of his car and slammed the outside wall. In what can only be described as a freak accident, a piece of the car's suspension pierced the cockpit of the vehicle and went straight through Hinchcliffe. As is to be expected after being impaled, James suffered massive blood loss as a result of the accident and required multiple sets of blood being constantly pumped through his body to keep him alive on his way to the hospital. Hinchcliffe himself described it as receiving 2 whole oil changes worth of blood. James would return the next year and actually win the pole for the 2016 running of the Indy 500, the same track that nearly killed him a year prior. Hinchcliffe still occasionally races in Indycar, as well as working as a part of the NBC broadcast team. The third to last injury in this strange list of accidents happened 3 years after Hinchcliffe's crash, and it would happen to yet another Canadian driver, as on the 7th lap of the ABC Supply 500 at Pocono Raceway, the Sam Schmidt-owned car of Robert Wickens would be catapulted into the catch fence.
In a run, Connor Daly pops out at the back, so too that yellow and red DHL car of Ryan Hunter-Ray, Alexander Rossi to the lead.
Filed in right with his teammate there, RHR, splits the Penske's, and look at Wickens on the outside making a move.
Here comes the red machine, the Lucas Oil entry of Canada's Robert Wickens.
Oh, that's going to be tight through there.
Oh,
early touch, oh my God.
Oh! That's Robert Wickens, and his teammate is into him as well, James Hinchcliffe. That was ugly.
The crash occurred when Wickens' car made contact with the Andretti Autosport machine of Ryan Hunter-Ray and lost control. The two slammed the wall, causing a multi-car pileup in which Wickens' car ramped over the car of Hunter-Ray and was launched into the catch fence like Hamilton, Weldon, and Aleshin before him. He whipped around violently before coming to a rest at the bottom of the racetrack, and among a laundry list of injuries, Wickens was paralyzed from the waist down. He continues towards regaining full movement in his legs to this day, and has begun his return to racing. James Hinchcliffe was also involved in this crash, but he only suffered some cuts and bruises. Fast forward to 2020, and the team would once again receive a name change as Arrow, the team's title sponsor from 2019, would be joined by the McLaren Company, now known as Arrow McLaren SP, the SP representing Schmidt-Peterson. The team would continue racing in IndyCar, and although the COVID-19 pandemic kept racing action to a minimum, that didn't stop the curse from rearing its ugly head once more. 2 more injuries would occur following the McLaren merger, the first being Oliver Askew at the 2020 Indy 500.
Daly spins and
Big
hard hit for, I think,
Oliver Askew.
Oliver Askew lost it in the smoke, and that was a massive hit.
That was nasty.
After this accident, Askew would feel concussion-like symptoms for many weeks and eventually would sit out of the 2020 Harvest Grand Prix at the Indianapolis road course to undergo evaluation. It would not be long before the curse would strike one last time, as at race 1 of the 2021 Detroit doubleheader, Felix Rosenqvist would crash into the tire barriers.
Oh my goodness.
I bet I know where that is. I think that's onto the back straightaway. And what we've seen in years past is a driver hitting the right front on the concrete wall at the apex.
That is huge.
You can see it's pushed the wall and the fence. In fact, it kicked the tires all the way over the chain link fence. And if you hit the inside wall, it can break the steering rack, and then you have no control, and you go head on into the barrier.
There is a stretch, there's a short chute, but it's a fast chute between turns 5 and 6. And this is on the exit of turn 6. You saw the Arrow McLaren SP driver, visor up. That signifies to the AMR safety team and race control that he is conscious. But that was a big one.
It looked like he's in pretty serious pain there. And it looks like the front end of the nose pretty heavily compromised. Let's see if my theory holds true. Oh boy. Almost went out of the park. It's right on board.
It sounded like the throttle stuck.
Holy cow.
After the accident, Felix Rosenqvist would be taken to the local hospital and would sit out the next 2 races. The first race being the second race in Detroit, he was replaced by returning Oliver Askew. In the next race at Road America, he was replaced by current Haas F1 driver Kevin Magnussen. While not injury-related, the team did spend a lot of 2022 surrounded by controversy, a little while before Alpine F1 announced Oscar Piastri prematurely, coincidentally an issue that involved the McLaren F1 team. A similar situation arose in IndyCar. Alex Palou was announced by Chip Ganassi Racing to be staying on board for their 2023 season, but Alex had other plans. Like Piastri after him, Alex was in the process of moving to McLaren. McLaren had also announced Palou for the 2023 season, which led to a season-long legal battle that saw Alex staying at Ganassi and McLaren continuing to fiddle with the open-wheel silly season elsewhere. And with that, we come to the end of our saga. Heading into the 2023 season, it was announced that Aero McLaren SP would be shortened to just Aero McLaren, thus finally removing the last indication it was once Schmidt-Peterson or even Sam Schmidt Motorsports, a team built off an injury and forever plagued with them. There aren't many things in motorsports I truly consider to be cursed, but this team is one of them. With the removal of the name, will the curse finally end? Only time will tell. But for the sake of IndyCar safety, I sure hope it does.